Spent the night last night at Moonstone. On the Bravo row, mooring number 1, right by the wall. Another quiet morning.
No, you just said you will right after breakfast. Why should I?
Beck's getting a lecture because he's not practicing his viola. Big boat out there in the anchorage. They had a couple jet skis on the boat deck. Looks like fun. Alright, I'm gonna see if I can drop the lines while holding the camera. No neighbors, no wind, no surge, so low pressure. Hey, buddy. All clear. A bit of sanding progress, lessons learned here. We'll talk about that later. Moved into the next mooring over. All right, do a little reverse. So I got my mom on board. So visiting for the summer. Or the summer, for the week. It's her summer visit. So spent our first night here at Moonstone. And now we're gonna motor over to the Isthmus. We haven't decided if we're gonna do the Isthmus or Cherry. I can't take all 3 of us adults to shore plus the dog in one trip, so I'm kind of leaning towards staying in the Isthmus so we have the 2-minute dinghy ride versus 10-minute. But I prefer Cherry to stay out of the wind. Better for lounging out in the sun and swimming because it's warmer. So I don't know. I got about an hour to decide where we're going to stay. Finally got my alternator working. I'm going to do a separate video on that fix. See, we're outputting just shy of 14 volts. Oh, finally, which is the first time it's worked in all the years I've owned the boat, which would be 6 seasons now. So you can check out that other video. I haven't made it yet, but watch that for an explanation and solution. The cruise ship in anchored visiting Avalon. Once we tried to get breakfast while there was a cruise ship in Avalon. It was a long wait and then the big hurry to get you to clear your table in the shop and so they could cycle the next customer in. Well, I couldn't figure out why we were going so slow. Then I realized I had the flopper stoppers in the water. So I just pulled those in. That's twice I've done that. The first time was at the Huntington Beach Air Show. We were anchored off the beach in the swell, rolling around, and we were motoring, pulled the anchor and motoring back to the marina. I mean, I've been underway maybe a minute, and I was thinking, wow, the boat's awfully stable for how rough it is. And then I realized I still had them over the side in the water. So this is Long Point, which I think is considered the dividing line between the east and west ends of the island. And then the cove in there is Button Shell Beach. There's a few moorings in there. That's, I think, the only cove in the two harbor system that we've never stayed in. Actually, it's pretty nice in there. I dinghied in there yesterday and you get a nice shield from the wind being behind the mountain. Just to the left of the pier and the moorings is an anchorage. Actually, along this whole area you can anchor. And right about here, center frame, that's Hen Rock in the distance. Between Hen Rock and our position, there's a reef with excellent fishing. But we did once spend the night anchored, bow and stern, about center frame up near the shore. So we were, let's see, we were to the left of the beach by a little bit. And didn't have any problems. I was just nervous that whole night because I didn't know what the holding was like over there. And that's the one and only time I anchored in that position. We were out here on a holiday, and this whole area was filled with anchored boats, and the moorings were full. Might have been 4th of July weekend. That was maybe 5 years ago. I just discovered at Button Shell they've got a landing craft up on the beach. It's like they're moving some floats around with a tractor. And rounding Long Point, there's this little beach which is exposed, and it's a super steep drop-off. I think it's too deep of a drop-off to anchor, and you're completely exposed to the wind and swell. And that beach is deceivingly short, even shorter than it looks. I think with a permit you can camp in there. I'd be nervous. At high tide, you only get a couple of feet of beach. Plus, you're directly under a vertical cliff. I would be nervous all night. Something's going to fall on my head. And then after we round this next point, little cove area, there's 3 coves. There's Italian gardens. And I'll chat about my experience in there in a moment. Alright, so this cove area is Italian Gardens. There's approximately 3 sandy areas, each of which is a campsite, boating, camping. You can get a camping permit through the island company. I've anchored out here several nights. We used to stay out here on holidays before we leased the mooring. So, you know, if you come out on the 4th of July or Memorial or Labor Day, all the moorings are full, and the anchorage outside, say White's, is also super crowded. You will rarely see another boat in here, and the reason is twofold. In the afternoon, when the wind kicks up, the swell bends around the point and just marches right in here. So it is very rolly and uncomfortable. And second, there's this weird current situation in here. You'll get these like swirls. You can actually see them, little mini whirlpools. So we were anchored in here one 4th of July with some friends who had a sailboat. We were side by side, single hook, and I would have my bow into the wind this way, and he was contrary, the other direction. His keel was getting picked up by the eddy of the current, and it was weird. Like, we would spin counter to each other multiple times, and initially we had anchored, and then when the wind picked up, we were too close. We both paid out a little more line because of it was blowing more, and then when we started spinning in opposing directions, we were too close and almost collided. And I don't remember. We re-anchored and sorted it out, but it's strange. It'll catch you by surprise. You'll sit here all morning pointed in one direction, and then in the afternoon, weird things happen. So we were anchored off that center beach area, and this is a great spot to snorkel. There's a lot of rays. Saw some leopard sharks in here, like 4-footers, and guitar fish. A lot of wildlife. And again, I think that's partially because you get so little boat traffic in here, and I believe it's also in the marine protected area. No fishing. I don't have my fishing license this year, so I'm not up to speed on all the zones, but pretty sure there's no fishing in here. So anyway, good spot to anchor and sightsee. And if you're in a jam and there's no other options, easy to anchor after dark, even though it's going to be rolly. At least you have a spot to stay. You don't have to turn around and head back for the mainland. Italian Gardens. So this is Goat Harbor. It's my son's favorite spot to anchor and spend the night. The landmark is the blue and white hulled boat wreck that's up on the beach. And we typically anchor just off of that boat wreck. There's a little rocky shoal area in the water, I don't know, 10-15 feet from the shoreline. So we'll put a stern hook near that rock, and then the bow off straight out to the right and go bow and stern. I've noticed cruising boats typically will anchor bow and stern in the beach to the right, the far right here. But Beck likes to play on this beach, so we'll anchor here. And there is a little bit of a trailhead that'll take you up to that ridge line. Been about halfway up, and I think that'll eventually get you to the airport. And this is pretty much the approach path for the airport in the sky. And in the afternoon, the wind, same dynamic as Italian Gardens. It bends around the point over here. I believe that's called Little Gibraltar. The wind will bend around, so you get it right on the nose. It's a lee shore, but you don't have a swell pushing you into the shore, so it's pretty manageable. And you tend to have less roll here in Goat Harbor versus the next beach up to the right here, which is Cabrillo Beach. We anchored out there for the day last week. We had some friends on board, and it's beautiful in the morning, but it gets windy over there in the afternoon and can get pretty rolly. We've spent the night out there several times as well. I'll talk about that area when we get over there. Alright, this is Cabrillo Beach. It's also a campsite. You can see that rock island in the center. The best place to anchor is with your stern just off that rock, and bow anchor off to the right. The closer you get to this big rock wall, the better the holding. When you come in here, it feels like the safer spot to be is over like where that boat's anchored currently. But the sand there, it tends to drag. When we were out here last week, I dragged twice. I had 3-to-1 out scope. The anchor was in 35 feet. The boat came to rest at 3-to-1 at about 22, 25 feet. And then I dragged all the way into 12 feet of sand and reset. but I found if you stay over here close to the wall, which seems scary, you'll hold. I haven't had any dragging issues over there, and I've certainly never been out here when it's been rough. Always just summertime, calm, and same thing. The wind will pick up in the afternoon, and it kind of comes over the ridge line right here and down and onto the beam, and will blow the boat towards Goat Harbour. But the swell will come in on the bow in the case of that anchored boat. So this is Cabrillo Beach. And if you know what you're doing, I don't, at high tide you can climb that rock and there's a spot where you can jump off. It's pretty tall. I don't know, that thing's just got to be 35 feet tall. Sound about right? Use that boat for scale. Yeah. Too crazy for me. That's Cabrillo Beach. Continuing west along the coast, where that charter fishing boat is positioned is the edge of the marine protected area. So it goes from Long Point to somewhere over here. So Italian Gardens, Goat, and Cabrillo are all a no fishing zone. And I think the defining line on this side is a point called Yellow Banks. But refer to your chart and California Fish and Game, because I'm not positive. Like these guys, for example, if they're fishing, I don't think you can legally do so right there. So moving on, we got this little cove, rocky area just due east of Ripper's Cove. You can see there's a boat anchored and a tent on shore. I don't know the name of that spot, and I've never anchored there, but that looks nice. Imagine it gets pretty rolly in the afternoon, because if I show you here around to the right, pretty exposed. This is looking due west. And then coming up next on the left here is Ripper's Cove. It's a sizable sized anchorage. When it's quiet, you can single hook, but the standard practice here is to go bow and stern into the beach, so you can hold your position and make room for more boats. I got a course correct here because we get several boats fishing. I don't want to get yelled at by fishermen this morning. Alright, apologize for the wind noise. So, continuing past Ripper's Cove. I'm staying wide because there's a bunch of boats in here anchored and fishing. Next little landing area is a Long Beach area called Empire Landing. I think there might be a mooring or two in there. And I don't know what the story is with Empire. There's a bunch of little houses and trailers. It's been a mystery. I've asked a few people at the island, and no one knows the story on Empire. I think it was originally housing for the old quarry, which is off to the right here. And I don't know if people live there now. I mean, it looks like the structures are maintained, at least from what I can see from the boat. I know landing is restricted. You're not allowed to go on shore in this area. But you can anchor here. As I recall, it's kind of a sandy, hard-packed bottom. But you don't really have any protection. So, beautiful right now in the morning, but in the afternoon and at night, it rolls. So that's Empire Landing. And we're coming up on the old quarry. And it looks like they've got a big red crane out here this summer. So I don't know if they've resumed operations. We're going to motor over there and take a look. out here at the quarry. Jess barking at the moorings. So they get a couple rock dumps running up there. Hey, 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 hey. Shh, shh, shh. No, it's all okay. It's all right. We're good. Thank you. Yeah, so they're hauling rock. So I guess they are pulling rock out of here again. That truck coming down the road. No seals. It's empty. Empty. Jeff. Alright, I believe the next notable landmark is Blue Caverns. There's these little caves up here on the right where the island hits the water. The right of that is Bird Rock and Ship Rock off on the right. So Bird Rock is a privately owned island, different owners than the Catalina Island. There's a interesting Huell Hauser episode on Bird Rock. I'll put a link at the end of the video so you can check that out. As I recall, it's up on YouTube. And then to the left of Bird Rock is the reef. And there used to be a post out there, an illuminated pole that was a reef marker. And I think it was this winter or last winter it finally fell. It's been rusting away for years. And it's been replaced with 4 lighted buoys, which I think is a much better install. Easier to see at night, and it's a grid now, so you have a better understanding, if you're not familiar with the area, of where the shallow spots lie. Here's Big Fisherman's Cove. This is the USC Wrigley Marine Science Center. The moorings in there are run by USC. We went ashore for the Saturday lecture. That was actually last week. Man, it's only been a week. So you can check out my video on that. It's 1 or 2 back from this one. also off of Big Fisherman's and to the right here. This is all protected area, no anchoring. USC graduate students and staff do a number of, and from other visiting students from other universities, they do a lot of research on the bottom here. So they've got multiple things, studies underway, and if you drop an anchor, you can screw up someone's multi-year research project.
510. We don't even have a box fan.
Coming up here on the eastern side of the isthmus, this is the shallower anchoring outside the mooring cove. So you can see this catamaran is on a single hook. That's probably 35 to 50 feet of water right there. We've anchored there a few times. As you travel to the right here, due west, it gets deeper, progressively deeper out to about 100 feet. And I've had a fouling here with weeds, which I'm not, you get an initial good set, and then in the afternoon when the wind kicks up, you start dragging, pull the anchor, and discover it's all wrapped in weeds. And then in here, as we round the point, this is Little Fisherman's Cove. Got multiple boats anchored. These are all these sailboats are bow and stern.
Yeah, double D, go ahead.
I've got several videos from years past where we've anchored in here. This is a nice spot. You get a big side load on the beam of wind in the afternoon, so you'll be bow and stern, and you'll get stretched towards the wall here. So you just got to be aware of that when you anchor. You can see all of these boats are favoring being a little bit further away from this wall. So in the afternoon, they've got plenty of room. And then there's some rocks off ashore, submerged rocks. You can anchor around, but you got to be aware of them when you're backing in to drop your stern anchor. But great spot to anchor. Little Fisherman's. Hello, hello.